Hi everyone, it's Anne at Martin House Flowers. Hope you guys had a great holiday weekend. I'm back in the greenhouse after spending one full day in the garden on Saturday. We had rain the rest of the time, but I was really happy to be able to plant out two beds of snapdragons. And I still have more snapdragons to sow that I might do in a few weeks, but I still have quite a few flowers here or filler flowers to sow before I can call it, done for the season. So I have two beds already out there with pretty much full of filler flowers, but I still have more filler flowers to do. So I don't know where I'm going to put them, but I'm going to go through a few of them today. And I wanted to kind of go through um, why I like sowing them. And two of the varieties are of marigolds. And if any of you are growing vegetables like tomatoes and herbs, peppers, cabbage, any of those things, you've probably heard of having a deterrent plant that kind of attracts lots of the unwanted pests that come with a vegetable garden, and marigolds are definitely one of them, as well as nasturtiums. So in a few videos past, I had already sowed some nasturtiums, and I just used some recycled containers, and I was just looking in my grow lights inside to figure out how much space I had left. So I have a couple containers there with some nasturtiums already, and I'll probably get a good four to six plants out of those, and that's all I need. Nasturtiums grow pretty big and tall, and so do these marigolds. So I think I'm just going to do probably two containers, two 4 packs of marigolds. I'll do the Kilimanjaro white marigold, which is kind of deceiving because it's really a pale yellow. And it tells you on the seed packet from Baker Creek to sow these 3 to 4 weeks before the last frost um, for transplants, or you can direct seed them after last spring frost. So an ordinary garden soil thrives in full sun, summer heat, remove spent flowers to prolong blooming period. And that's definitely the case. They are definitely a cut and come again. And particularly Cracker Jack. I cut on these so much last year. They were such a beautiful late summer flower. The white marigold, not as much I recall, but I don't know. I want to give them another try. I do have a lot of seeds here. So these grow, let's see, it doesn't tell you how tall, but it does tell you that these are a 2 inch creamy white bloom. So the Cracker Jacks do tell you that these are quite a tall 30-inch plant. And I had put them in the kitchen garden, and Greg thought that they kind of took over. So I'm going to have to be more careful about how many plants I put in there. But I do want to add them to my filler flower beds as well, because it'll definitely keep the pests at bay, and it'll be a great filler flower. So I'm even debating on whether or not to bother with Kilimanjaro White, just because I remember them getting pretty, well, they were just more of a plant for attracting pests and deterring them from all of your tomatoes and so forth. So maybe what I'll do is I'll plant 4 of these, put these in the kitchen garden, but add these to my cut flower garden. That's a better idea. I love when I figure things out while I'm talking through this. And the other one that I talked about last time, but I didn't have time to do, was amaranth. And I know in one of my favorite photos uh, of my garden, my cut flower garden, amaranth was behind me, and it was just the most amazing um, plant. And I only tested a few of these last year, a few plants, and I also had just a few celosia, and I already have a tray of celosia growing. So I'm going to use up all of these amaranth. I think I'm going to put them probably in one of these, use up all my seeds. Hopefully I have more. I would love to do at least 8 plants of amaranth, if not more. So, and then the other one I want to do with you today is my coleus for containers. So coleus, you start these indoors in early spring, covering lightly and keeping very warm. Prefers filtered shade in hot summer areas. So these are definitely for my containers. I'll probably put them in containers just outside of the greenhouse. And they're not frost hardy, and you sow these 1/8 inches deep. So the other one that I wanted to do was my straw flower, king size silvery rose. I might have brought this up in one of my other seed starting videos, but I didn't get a chance to sow them. So I'm going to do these today. And everyone knows about straw flowers, how they are such a really pretty dried flower, and they look the same dried as they do fresh in the garden beds. So I'm going to try to grow some of these in case I am doing a flower crown for my daughter in the fall. So you sow these outside 2 to 4 weeks after your average last frost. It's recommended to start these 6 to 8 weeks before your average last frost. So it's way past that time. I am now, today, I believe it's April 21st, and today is officially my last frost date, if you believe it. So if you look up my zone and my postal code or my zip code on Google, it'll tell you that for my city in northern Illinois, my last frost is anywhere from April 21st to the 30th, or April 20th to the 30th, whichever day you happen to Google it. And I'm still, although I've got all of my cool flowers in the ground, like snapdragons and bachelor's buttons and poppies, and what else do I have? I have a number of cool flowers out there already, and I've started my Rudbeckia and larkspur. I could go on and on, but anyway, they're in the ground. As I mentioned, I have 4 beds full of cool flowers, and I technically only have 2 beds left for my zinnias. So I'm also going to finish sowing some zinnias, probably off camera, because I went through my zinnias in my last video, and I just ran out of grow light space. But now that I've cleared all of my snapdragons out of my racks here, I have more room here in the greenhouse. I'm hoping this coming weekend Greg will be able to put up some shelves for me. He thought, oh, he's off the hook because I've cleared out stuff from the floor, but he doesn't realize that I still have so many more seeds to sow. And with the nice warm nights coming, and it's so warm in the greenhouse even today, that I plan to utilize the sunlight in the greenhouse and just try to start my seeds off in the greenhouse. And you can do that in a greenhouse, even in an unheated greenhouse, as long as your nighttime temperatures aren't dipping, below, say, 50 degrees. And I think it's pretty safe to say that. I looked at the 10-day forecast, and we're going to be anywhere from the 60s to 70s. And then in the evenings, it's going to be around the 50s, maybe high 40s. But because it does get quite warm here, and if I close up all the windows in the evening, then it stays pretty warm. So in the next week or two, obviously I'm going to use all my grow lights, utilize that space for starting my seeds. But in the next couple weeks, it's definitely going to be warm enough in here to start my seeds. Okay, so we'll just get going here. I'm not gonna film too much. I thought I would just kind of go through some of that today. And also I do want to start some cucumbers. I have quite a few cucumbers and I'm hoping I can, I guess I need to find myself some hanging baskets. I just have one up there right now and two wired ones. But I have, these bush champions that are kind of large, but I also have hybrid greenhouse cucumbers that I want to try from Johnny's. And these are great for trellising. This is necessary in the greenhouse, but optional outdoors. Tie a twine between a 6 to 7 inch high top wire and the base of the plant using a loose single overhand knot. So you could tie a string from the ground up and it will climb. So that's kind of cool. But I also thought I could just try hanging them. I'll start them in containers, but then I will plant them in hanging pots and let them kind of fall down. I'm hoping that that will work. So we're going to try that reverse kind of trellising from top down. So that is something I definitely want to do today. Put that in my today pile. I also have some marketer cucumbers from M.I. Gardner here. And all of these cucumbers, they basically say to start 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost. So you can start those anytime. I have some slicing cucumbers from Johnny's. Gosh, I have a lot. I have poinsettia 76 cucumber and we mentioned the bush. So I have quite a few cucumbers to choose from. If I have time, I'm also going to do some more ageratum because I have duplicate packages of my ageratum red flint and my balls mixed, and I want those for containers. Once all of my bulbs are finished in the containers, will have a lot of containers to fill. So that's why I want to do some of these. And I need to hunt for my African daisies. I haven't come across that package. It's probably in a later container because they are a direct sow seed that I. So I filled up all of my 4-cell trays here and I've recycled some of my tags from last year. I tried to save them from in the ground or in the beds, and if they're readable, I'll use them, reuse them. So I've got my 2 marigolds there. I just did the Coleus Colossia Rose. I'm going to do the Strawflower. I loved Amaranth. For some reason, I didn't reorder. So as a result, I don't have that many, but I'm hoping I have enough here to do 2 containers or eight plants because they were such a hit. But I did end up doing almost an entire tray of celosia, which is kind of similar, but amaranth was a lot more floriferous, I guess is the word. So let's start off with the one non-flower, and that is the seedless cucumber, hybrid greenhouse cucumbers. And so it's recommended that they're transplanted. You do 1 to 2 seeds per cell in 50-cell trays, half-inch deep. Keep temperature 80 to 85 degrees until emergence. Grow plants at 73 to 76 with a minimum night temp. So these definitely need warm temperatures. So I'm going to definitely need to put these in my under my grow lights is what I'm trying to say. Now I didn't pre-moisten my soil, but I'm going to spritz them once I've finished. I need to go grab that. My spritz bottle, which I always forget because I use it indoors. And then I will also soak them from below. So these want to be a half-inch deep. So I think I did it pretty good. So I'm going to do 2 per cell. as recommended. I could probably do more, but I don't want to have to thin them out if I don't have to. And wow, the seeds are pretty large. There's not that many. Minimum 30 seeds. I don't know if there's 30 in here. Maybe I grew these last year. I might have, because there is not 30 in here. So here are the seeds. These are Unagi F1 hybrid greenhouse cucumbers. And if they don't go deep enough, use your little tag to just push them down a little bit. If I get 4 plants out of here, I think that'll be plenty. And there we go. Honestly, I think I must have grown these last year. Test date was March 2024. I don't know. I just feel like I didn't get that many. So there you have it. I just put the little indent in. Like so. They're in there now. I'm just going to cover them up. Use your finger or your tag. You can sort of see where the seed is. I'm just going to cover them up with my finger. I'll come in at the end and spritz everything, and then I will cover it up with vermiculite. Put my tag in there. Let's do the amaranth next. Amaranth have pretty tiny little seeds, if I recall, and they say to sow these indoors 4 to 6 weeks before last frost, or direct sow early spring after last frost. And they take 7 to 14 days to germinate, and they need 70 to 75 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Leaves, did you know that red spike amaranth the leaves are edible and make a tasty, nutritious green when tender and before they reach full maturity? This annual plant will grow 48 to 60 inches tall, deep red for late summer and fall arrangements. And I would have to say that they definitely grew, in my case, to about 5 feet tall, which is 60 inches. I would say so. They were from 4 to 5 feet, and yeah, they were quite nice. Let me just, I can't see these seeds, so I'm gonna. And you need to do these probably 1/4 inch deep. So it's almost safe to say that you just want to make tiny little 1/4 inch is not very deep. So I'm gonna do 4 because they're so tiny in these little 4-cell trays. So I'll end up with 4, 8, 12, 16, 32 plants, hopefully. I would have loved to do an entire, well, maybe half a tray of these, but which technically this is this is a 1/4 of a tray, because this will be put into a 10-10 tray, and it'll fill up half a 10-10. So really tiny seeds. I'm going to try to show it to you. Whoa, really tiny. But I am going to use up all of my seeds today. So let's see if I can show these without dropping them. Okay, we're good. So we're gonna pat those down. That was red spike amaranth. Maybe I'll grow more. I just need a larger garden. Ooh, look at these. These are so cool. Let me show you the seeds of these. So, Marigold Kilimanjaro White. Sow indoors 3 to 4 weeks before last frost, or direct seed after last spring frost. I think we went through all this. Space 8 to 12 inches, but these are just the coolest seeds. Aren't they cool? So I'm definitely going to do, I might do 4 seeds per. Eddie was let out and he's already getting in trouble. he's trying to hide out. Mama, save me. You need to stop barking. Dad can't have that. He's working. Cracker Jacks, I am going to grow these for actual cut flowers, and so I probably should grow more, but I'm not going to because I remember how huge they got. So yeah, I'm trying really hard not to grow too many because I do end up having too many always. Move these forward. Now I'm on to Strawflowers Coleus. Really nice packaging. Oh, wow. You know they're tiny when you get one of these. And the last one is the Strawflower King Size Silvery Rose, which I'm really excited about. I'm not into straw flowers. I mean, I think I like them as a young person, but I thought this would be a great flower to do a flower crown. So why not give it a try? And apparently they're super easy to grow. They kind of, I guess they're similar to a bachelor's buttons. They dry up much nicer though. What happened? Okay. Oh, I'm just going to sew all these. I always think there's not very many in here, but there end up being quite a few. So there's the tiny little seeds. There you go. Let's just drop the three in my fingers right there. There's 3 that just fell in there so nicely. Nice size. Okay, so I got my spray bottle. You want to spray them on top when you first sow your seeds because you want to ensure that the seed and the soil make contact. And then you continue your watering from below. And I do that from the tray. But once I put these on a tray, I actually don't water them when they're under the humidity dome, because if you've sowed seeds before, you realize that the humidity dome creates enough moisture until there's germination. And then when there's 50% or more germination, sometimes I like to get more than 50%, 75, 80%. Then I take the dome off, and then you resume your regular watering schedule. And that might be depending on how warm it is under your grow lights, wherever your room is, whether it's every day that you're watering or every second day. I just like to keep an eye on them. Oh, excuse me. I like to keep an eye on them every day. And when I'm out of town, I get my neighbors to come and check like twice a week. And that was more than enough, especially in cool weather. All right. Oh, I forgot the cucumber. So let's see. That's 4. There's 3 here. I need to do a 4th. Guess which one I'm going to do a 4th one, because I need to have 2 full trays here. 2 half trays. Should I do more amaranth? I don't know. I think the amaranth get pretty big. I think I should do another. I'll pick another flower. Just for the sake of filling up the tray. But we'll just finish up here, wrap up the video by putting in and I'm going to use my cleaner hand because, as I mentioned, I just finished washing a ton of pots before we started to make sure that everything was free of any bacteria. I don't know. I don't know if everybody washes their pots before starting their seeds again, seed sowing, but it's really important to make sure that you minimize any chance of bacteria growth in your seedlings. They're like little babies. Even recommend this for raised garden beds. For best results, mix 1 part vermiculite, 1 part coconut fiber, and 2 parts compost. You can just use that for your soil. And it improves drainage and aeration in your planting areas by mixing 1 part vermiculite with 2 parts topsoil. Work into the top 2 inches of native soil. Apply seed, cover entire area with a 1/4 inch of vermiculite, water with a fine spray. The vermiculite will maintain moisture to speed germination, increase the number of seeds that germinate. And that's what we're doing here. So I happen to water them before the vermiculite. Sometimes I water after the vermiculite. But I'm going to go ahead and do both just to make sure that the seeds made proper contact. We've got the Amaranth here next to the Coleus and the king size silvery rose strawflower. And there you have it. So my domes are inside. But what I do is I put the dome on, and in about a week to 10 days, sometimes less, they germinate, and then I take the humidity dome off, and then I continue to water from underneath. I just lift up one of the trays, fill the water, I put about 1/3 to 1/2 of the tray so that it soaks up from underneath. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you in the next video. I hope you will like and subscribe and comment if you are growing any of these cut flowers or cucumbers today that we went through. I hope that that was helpful to you, and please let me know if you have any questions or comments. We'll see you again. Bye-bye. I end up doing a different variety of cucumbers. That'll make the family happy. More cucumbers for everyone.